This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to you all, and thank you for joining in for the virtual discussion on leveraging disruptive mobile solutions to drive branding at scale. I'm Manmeet from IAMAI team, and I'll be hosting the session today. Taking this opportunity, we'd like to give you a quick introduction about IAMAI and our partnering firm, mCanvas. Internet and Mobile Association of India is a not-for-profit industry body representing the complete gamut of digital services industry in India. We have over 350 plus Indian and multinational corporations as members from various segments for sector-specific committees like digital transformation, digital advertising, edutech, fintech, gaming, etc. mCanvas offers mobile branding at scale based on the campaign KPIs that matter engagements, website visits, and video views. The company's work has also been recognized by industry stalwarts and has won countless awards. To see the award-winning work and to understand more about mCanvas, visit www.mcanvas.com. All right, then, we have a distinguished set of panelists joining us today. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our moderator, Rishi Sharma, Senior Vice President, Asia Pacific, mCanvas, and our esteemed panelist, Mr. Anish Daryani, Founder and President Director, MNC Saatchi Indonesia, Mr. Arthur, Regional Gaming Division Lead, Southeast Asia, Axiata Digital, Dipendra Singh Shekhawat, Head of Digital Omnicom Media Group, Mudit Govil, Partner Mediacom, and Ryan McClure, Managing Director, TWOMC 360 Digital Agency, and Digital Board Advisor, co-founder of Skylar Solutions. A very warm welcome to you all. I would now request Mr. Sharma to take forward the discussion.
All right. Thank you so much for that introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking out the valuable time here. I'm going to straight jump into the meat, right? I mean, what we are going to discuss here. I'm also going to just share my screen. Just starting off, just setting the context, right? As consumers, I think all of us will agree how obsessed we are becoming with the mobile phone, right? I mean, I just want to call out this incident. Like the other day, I was actually seeing people cross the road and they still can't get over the mobile phone. Now, over the last 10 years, what we have seen is we have seen massive changes in the technology of the mobile phone. Let me give you some examples, right? Can you guys see my, the screen share? Can you all see it by any chance? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You might want to go on presentation mode.
Yep, I'm going to do that, right? So this is now, you know what I'm going to do? I've basically gone 10 years ago. This is how our phones, a Nokia N8, a iPhone 3, a Sony Xperia, these are the kind of phones we were using. And, let me just come across, being marketeers, being, on the side of the agency, these are the kind of banner ads we were seeing 10 years ago, right? Now, fast forward 10 years ahead, all these phones have massively changed into, we got the OnePlus 9s, we got the iPhones, we got the Vivos, we got the triple cameras. Essentially, the technology on the mobile phone remains the same. But again and again, what we see is the banner ad tends to remain the same. So, what is the problem statement here, right? I mean, what is the problem as marketeers, what we face here, right? So number one, no recall. Number two, storytelling, no brand recall, no CTRs. Key messages. Are people really able to recall these particular banners, even though we've gone through such massive changes? Now, what does that call for, right? What does that call for? Essentially, given that we are seeing such massive changes in technology, why aren't we leveraging, of course, the power of, a very, very strong creative versus alternate channels in terms of how to really make this mobile medium an effective medium for marketeers, right? So most importantly, right, this is where I come into the picture, and this is where we come into the picture, and this is where we talk about, right? Today, a lot of us, we are running banner ads all across the mobile phones, and at the end of the day, we are seeing the viewable impressions. Are we really happy with that? Are we really content, or this is what the marketer is looking forward for? And over the last 2 to 3 years, we've come up with this term called engagements, and this is where I would want to just give some overview in terms of what I mean by engagements, right? Or happy to get your point of view, and as we build on to that, right? So as per us, right, engagements is the point where a customer interacts with your communication. Now, this interaction could be as basic as once I see a banner ad for more than 3 seconds, or I've spent more time on a video view for more than 10 seconds. But the key point here is making customer interact or engage with your ad. And this is what we found out, right? I mean, and this is what a lot of our R&D revealed, that, when you come up with highly relevant content in a powerful, engaging way, the brand recall, the intent, the outcomes are much, much better for the brand. I mean, this is how I want to set the context, right? Now, just to give you an example, right? What do I mean by engagement, right? So I'm going to just play this video. Just one second. Perfect. So what we essentially did here is take the product proposition, come up with various physical attributes, come up with various tangible attributes, and essentially make the customer interact with that, right? So this is where I would like to leave the floor open to our esteemed speakers. And, this is the first question which I really want to talk about, right? Going beyond standard impressions and focusing on engaging content, like, to really, really build an impact on the customer. Anish, would love to have your thoughts on this. Would you like to just take on here?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rishi. So I'll first start by talking a little about what you touched upon, right? How important the role of the mobile phone is in our lives and how much time we spend on it, right? With it, right? So I think for most people, and I guess you'd agree that the minute you wake up, you probably wake up with an alarm on your phone, and your first few minutes or the first hour of the morning is pretty much catching up about what happened overnight, catching up on the news, catching up on the social media content. Then you're on your way to work. You probably use your GPS and your map on your phone, trying to see how long it's going to take you to get to work. You're doing calls in between. You have an always on WhatsApp window open, trying to manage your business or be in touch with friends or whatever. And then you've got many other IMs going in the background, whether it's Facebook Messenger, whether it's Instagram. You have a bit of a breather, and that's when you pop up your Instagram, you're trying to see what's really happening out there, right?
Yeah.
And then, you're probably making your reservation for your lunch at the same time on your phone, and then you land up there. It's pretty much, and it just goes on. And while you're at it, you're even charging your phone on the way because it eventually runs out of juice. And we're still waiting for the phone that can exactly, no matter how many features we want and how fast we want it to be and how power pack we want it to be. We know it drains battery, and then we're still waiting for the ideal smartphone that will last us an entire day with enough juice in it. And so on and so forth. And all the way till you go to bed, you still have your phone. You set your alarm for the next morning, and so literally, your phone is a device that you're on every single moment of your life. I mean, we don't spend as much time with our partners and wife and girlfriends and stuff as much as we do with our phones. And it's actually become a thing. There's now a phobia of not having your phone around with you. It's called nomophobia. It's actually a thing, right? In consumer psychology, there is literally not having a phone is a phobia. Like, where people dread the fact that what if one day I wake up and there are no more mobile phones? What do I do? Right? So in that context, I mean, given the fact that it's such an important aspect of people's life, it's almost an extension of you. There are ads out there where kids are being born with phones in their hands. Of course, engaging with the audience on the mobile device is extremely important, right? Sometimes it's more important for certain categories than it is for the others. So, if you're a mobile native business, you're an app native business, you're a web native business, maybe mobile is that much more important for you versus if you're coming from a background where, a category like an FMCG, F&B, etc. Then there are certain aspects or certain time slots of the day or what we call occasions in the day where you want to be engaging a little bit more, right? But having said that, I mean, we all know enough. There are many automated tools out there that help you create ads and sort of A/B test them and whatnot. But if you actually look at it, the global average, and this is global web index data, the global average of a click-through rate, or a CTR as they call it, is 0.15%. Okay, and that I believe is still a very optimistic figure. You talk to any of the brand managers, talk to the media guys, they'll tell you, oh wow, that's a good average, you know.
Yeah.
Which means that for every 1,000 people you reach, actually every 10,000 people you reach, you have about 15 people who are actually engaging with your content. So what do we learn from this, and where can we go from here? So, you know, having led MNC Saatchi, where a lot of our businesses are again mobile native, mobile first. We have an MNC Saatchi performance practice, which is one of the strongest performance services across the region. We answerable to clients in terms of giving them solutions as to how to solve this problem, right? And so we've been through a lot of pain and toil, you know, hours and hours of, actually hundreds of hours of research, looking at secondary research, doing our own neuroscience research, eye tracking, and all of that. We've come up with some very unique insights, which actually tells us why the click-through rate on mobile advertising or display advertising, as they call it, is so low. And that's because over the years, and this is our core insight on that, our eyes are trained to skip things that we don't care about, you know. And every time you open your favorite news app, or you go into Facebook or Instagram or your stories and scrolling through your content, and an ad pops up, your instinctive action is to skip it, right? And there's a reason behind that. The reason behind that again is that when you are doing something, when you're occupied in your mobile, you're doing it with intent, okay? And that intent could be to get some work done, to entertain yourself, to buy something urgently, to pay a bill, or to research something, to find something that's useful to you. That's where we believe the power of creative comes in, because creative gives context to intent. Okay, and this context is extremely important, because then that context gets applied to many parameters that are able to make the ad more convincing for you, make the creative more relevant to you, almost in a way customized within your hectic schedule of going through the day, where your likelihood of engaging with the ad becomes much higher, right? And examples would be that, you know, prior to lunchtime, if you're looking for ordering lunch into the office, then it's more likely that you would look at an ad that is served to you, which is about a deal on your favorite restaurant, right? And so therefore, in this case, time of day becomes relevant. So your day part, or your, you know, micro moments that a brand can own becomes relevant. In another example, you might be passing down a particular place. You might land up in a mall, right? And maybe you don't intend to go to a particular store, but they have something happening at that store, and they want you to walk in, and they give you an offer you can't refuse, and they serve it on your mobile device, because they knew eventually you'll either log into a Wi-Fi or check a message or whatever. And then you have your attention saying, okay, I'm right here, and I can go and I can pick up something free, or I can, you know, find out something new. And so then, you know, geography becomes geotagging, or whatever, it becomes contextual. And you might be searching something, maybe you want to buy a particular product, maybe automotive parts, or maybe a shampoo or a hair gel or whatever. And that's when a brand in the relevant search context talks to you. And then that search becomes the context to your intent. And then you tend to engage with that a little more, right? But then if you take all these, the context from with respect to the intent, and let's assume that every advertiser today, because of access to data, has that context to what they do, then why are the click-through rates still low? That's because there is an effort, or rather there is an inclination to do more volume in terms of your creative output, which is simple to produce. Maybe it's automated. Maybe you can just you're trying to ABCD test 100 banners at one time and seeing that eventually you might get lucky with one. And it's like almost gambling with your media dollars and saying, I might just get lucky and have one ad that people kind of engage with a little more. But actually it's more than that, because like in everything else, there is a lot of power in disruption, right? So in a day in your life, in your journey through a day, if I'm able to be contextual with you, but I'm able to do it in a disruptive way, where I steal attention from something more important that was intent driven that you were doing, and you think it's worth your while to engage with that. That is where disruption becomes extremely important in getting attention of a user. And a lot of effort then goes into creating this disruptive model in terms of a solution, which is serving an ad in a channel in a way that can optimize, that can help you, achieve that objective of disruption. And then comes the question of, scale versus being more pointed. So I could spray bullets across everyone and with an AK-47, or I could be a sniper and reach out to people with pinpoint accuracy in terms of what their intent is, what is the context I'm driving, and then have a disruptive sort of ad served to you at that time. So the right communication with the right in the right place or channel at the right time, and with disruptive content, that's when I'm more likely, and that's where we're able to drive click-through rates of anywhere between 3 to 5%, which is several hundred times more effective than what the average click-through rate worldwide is. So that's the context. Rather, I'd like to place in terms of, what's the fundamental reason for click-through rates on static banner ads to be so low, mostly riding on Facebook and Instagram and Google and all of that. And that's where, publishers can come in to give you platforms that are able to give you solutions that are more disruptive.
Sure.
And then when you marry that with data, marry that with the intent, marry that with the context, you have a perfect solution. And that's the formula for, at least our formula for success in mobile communication.
All right. So, Anish, you want to add something more? Hello?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just wanted to lay out the context from a creative agency perspective, and yeah.
No, Anish, I think I love your perspective. Thank you so much for that. And, you've been really kind to show, actually disclose your formula as well. But you know what, if I really want to simplify things, what I'm taking away from this is, I love the fact the way you said about the context. But, when you talk about the right communication at the right place, at the right time, and you marry it with the right creative. And of course, today, this is what's happening. I keep seeing this again and again. I think consumers are becoming more and more demanding in terms of getting the right content across. So, you're absolutely right. I remember those days, when I was at the client side and we used to do 100 A/B tests, and, we used to just pray to God, okay, a couple of creatives will come up and we'll get great CTRs on that. And of course, the hope was 0.15 will become 0.2, 0.2 will become 0.25, essentially get the thing. But I think the world is dynamically changed. I think the perspective which you've essentially given off in terms of, the powerful creative at the right place really sets the context in terms of how do you get to your consumer today, right? Just to take this forward, right? Ryan, I would love if you could just, add on to your perspective from from where you come from in terms of how you look at engaging content. Would love to hear your perspective on this as well.
Sure. Thanks, Rishi. Do you mind if I share my screen just for some
No problem.
visuals in the background here? All right. Okay, so if I do that, can you see that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, you should see some hands there.
Yeah, we can see some hands.
All right. So I just thought I'd play this in the background because it's fairly fresh and it speaks to what I'm going to say here. So this is the latest avatar creation software from NVIDIA, and it's a combination of AI for understanding, interpreting language, and also for people to create their own avatars, which is, a kind of ego thing that, let's face it, customers are sometimes ego driven and they love it. So the reason I wanted that in the background is, to build on what Anish said about creating engaging experiences and turning it into revenue for clients and their business. Measuring that, and we all talked about the pain points of measuring in the past. I think we're also going to need to focus on measuring something new, or the evolution of what we've been discussing as engagement. And by that I mean, today with the tools we're using, we can track so many things, but we can't just rely on what big tech wants us to track. If you look at YouTube, the measurements, Facebook, the measurements, it's great, but it's all geared towards validating their business model. It's not necessarily geared towards helping us achieve our clients' business goals. So it's important stuff for benchmarking, but it's 2022. If we integrate other platforms, smart interactive video platforms like Luma One and mCanvas, for examples, we have a whole other universe of data points to look at based on the chosen path through the narrative, instead of just, did he see it or not, right? We've got the path through the narrative, the actions they take, and how our ad or our story responds, like choose your own adventure video. We've got polls and surveys, of course, but we can instantly translate into any language as well, not just subtitles, but we can instantly translate into male, female spoken language, depending on who's watching. That's all done with AI. So it's exciting stuff, but there are more and more platforms out there like this. And they require experimentation to do them well. They're new, they're forming themselves right now. And, but there's a tremendous advantage for brands. First mover advantage is huge. I recall a specific spirits brand was one of the first ones with Matthew McConaughey, ran a campaign with interactive on Instagram. And it wasn't just, interactive on Instagram, but it was one of the first part of a larger strategy, larger deployment. But it was huge. And everybody remembered that at the time as, oh, wow, yeah, that's set the bar. And they made some pretty good returns on that, as I recall. So as agencies lead into the digital space that's constantly new, it's almost exhaustively new, right? But it's our responsibility as agencies to encourage clients to make space for themselves to learn about these platforms with our help, prove the value, and integrate them into real campaigns. So the first step in doing this, I believe, is a paradigm shift for a lot of people. Instead of just engagement, we are all going to have to start thinking more about immersion. And it's not a bad thing either. We can take all the learning that we've gotten from mobile and engagement measurement and apply it to immersion, because the fight for attention is not going to get any easier in the 2D space, right? We're going to have to bring people into more expansive, enriching, and immersive storytelling to keep them and excite them, and in the end, more traditional sense, engage with them.
Right. All right. I really like, I mean, we're already into the avatar space. I mean, but I get the point. Like, so, Brian, the perspective which you're throwing is, it becomes a mandate essentially, at the end of the day, we understand the client has specific objectives, and these objectives are becoming more and I like the fact that it's becoming more and more difficult to break through the clutter, right? I mean, it's just becoming more and more difficult to break through the clutter. As agencies, I mean, of course, those guys, like the clients, will always keep coming up with the tougher marketing objectives. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to essentially train, or let's say educate them on these big paradigm shifts in terms of what innovations which are actually happening in the market, right? Now, I'm going to just share my screen again. And this is one of the cool innovations which we were able to do for Reebok. We're just going to play this video for everybody. I mean, just to let you know, so in the first innovation, we saw, some slight kind of engagements, but you know what, now let's really push the bar. Can we go to the next level, right? So I'm going to just play this for everybody here, for including the audience.
One of the most renowned fitness apparel brand, Reebok, introduced its first ever innovative sports bra with motion sense technology. This sports bra would adapt to a wearer's physical activity and provide the required support for each move. Our objective was to launch the sports bra by using a comprehensive storytelling format that would not only highlight its key features and USP, but also position it as a first of its kind sports bra. The idea here was to target women and engage them in an activity which would trigger a sense of discomfort, and then introduce the Reebok Pure Move sports bra. We ran the creative in a two-part ad unit using a scroller format. The first part of the ad showed women in multiple colorways of Pure Move to engage the user with the ad. On clicking, the expandable opened up into a full-screen interactive ad, which then asked the viewer to jump 5 times holding their phones. With the combination of the gyroscope and the accelerometer sensors in the phone, each jump was recorded and displayed on the phone screen. In this process, the activity grabbed the user's attention to the discomfort she experienced while jumping in her current bra. Once the physical activity ended, the reality of wearing an uncomfortable bra was brought to focus. Then, the product was introduced with its key features as one of the ultimate sports bras, providing the required support and control unlike the ordinary. The TVC was embedded in the closing screen with a carousel below it, highlighting its features and the multiple colorways that Reebok Pure Move offers. The No More CTA took the user to the website for more information or to make a purchase. Here's what the campaign achieved. The campaign reached over 2 million users and saw an impressive 1.9% click-through rate, which is over 9 times higher than the industry average of 0.2% for mobile ads. On an average, users spent approximately 9 seconds engaging with the ad unit. Customized support for each move.
So yeah, gentlemen, this is what we were able to pull off. These are the kind of innovations which we are seeing in the market, where people are leveraging the different mobile sensors to essentially drive a stronger customer impact. So this is where, I would love to invite Mudit. Mudit, I would love to hear your perspective, right? The brands which you're working on in terms of, and, plus what Anish and Ryan have spoken about. How can we further innovate on these engagements to really drive a stronger customer impact? Would love to hear your perspective.
Sure. Thanks, Rishi. Firstly, as we are in the holy month of Ramadan, right? So firstly, I would like to wish everyone who is celebrating along with online audiences a happy Ramadan. Now, to answer your question, right? You're asking about the overall stronger customer impact that we can actually create, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I simply pick 3 words from the question itself, so innovate, engagement, and to drive stronger customer impact, right? So each and everything has its own role to play, right?
Okay.
Now, when we try to club all three, that makes the solution to this overall impact. So what I'm trying to say is like innovation plus engagement plus stronger customer impact would actually give you the overall customer experience, right? So when we are able to create a good customer experience, that ultimately create the overall stronger customer impact, right? So it's all about the experience, right? Now, experience would also comes, I would say, like there are two things that we can also talk about, right? First thing, it could be related to, let's say, a very unique experience, right? A very innovative one, like the way that you have also mentioned, and even Anisa also mentioned about the same, right? So it could be unique. The other diagram would be the relevance experience, right? Now, when I say like the overall unique thing, it has nothing to do with the overall audience. The only thing is that it's so innovative that people are actually talking about the same. It's automatically starting getting the traction, right? It's all because of the overall concept. Now the relevant experience, right? When we talk about the relevant experience, it has like more deal to with the overall target audience and the moments that we actually want to tap in, and again the overall time, right? Now when we club these two, right, which is your innovation as well as the relevance experience, that's make a overall customer experience very personalized, right? Because now we are actually tapping it with the relevant target audience, relevant moment. Now we are also talking about the innovation that creates a very good experience for the consumer, and that too on a personalized side.
Sure.
Yeah. So if I simply give you an example, let's say for auto category, right? So now we all know that there are like, I would say two entities, which is let's say brand side or the dealer side. On to the other side, we have customer, right? Now, especially during these difficult times, right? It was very difficult for the brand to get the footfalls to their store. Right?
Sure.
Second, the challenge for the consumer is like they cannot simply go out and visit like every store just to get the overall requirements from their side, right? And then brands were also facing, and even they are also facing some sort of issues related to inventory. Like they cannot place like all the inventories at their store place, right? Now here comes the overall technology bit that plays a very important role, right? When you talk about the overall virtual reality, and even I guess Rian has also mentioned about the avatar and all, right? So metaverse is also the new innovation or the new future that we can also look into, right? So now let's say suppose if the auto players, the brands or the dealers, this initially started, let's say, opening the overall virtual showroom. So that's a kind of technology that we can utilize, and it will also help to deliver the overall inventory, right? Whatever the user wants to see, they simply check it on the website, right? And they will say like, okay, I need this interior. Virtual test drive is also possible, right? The exteriors, right? So that would actually solve this kind of overall business challenge, right? Now, engagement would always starts from the very first step. I'll not say like it's only a part of, let's say, the clicks or the engagement, right?
Sure.
Till the time your objective is very clear, right? That would also plays a very important part of engagement. Then you generally talk about the reach, and you generally talk about the impression, right? So everything is actually correlated, because again, at the end of the day, it's a part of the entire funnel, right? Now, this is something which we have also utilized for like multiple set of our brands. So we generally say like, we would be doing, let's say, dynamic creative optimization. But now the overall narrative has actually got changed. It has nothing to do with the dynamic creative. Okay. Now it is more towards the DCCO, which is your dynamic content creative optimization. Because content plays a very important role. I guess Anish has also pointed out that content is something, if you have a very relevant content for the relevant audience, and again at the right time, that plays a very important role, right? Now, the last part, which I actually wanted to touch base upon is, though we have already talked about like, the overall concepts, overall engagement, right? Impressions, reach, everything, right? But till the time we are not measuring it correctly, right? That it will not make any sense, right? If I simply give you an example of social, right? In which we have like multiple engagements. You would definitely have like, you will definitely have share, you will definitely have comments. But again, each engagement would play a very important role. For me, it is very easy to do, like, right? You simply need to click on that button and your job is done, right? On the other side, for the comments, it would take a little bit more time, right? It will take a more engagement. Right? So that's why the overall weightage comes into the picture, so that we can have a different weightage for different engagements that have been done so far. And then after that, we can align with the overall intent, right?
Sure.
So I guess this is something that I actually wanted to touch base upon this, the overall how we can actually drive a stronger customer impact. It's totally about the personalized experience. And that generally comes up once we have the overall innovative bit as well as the relevance experience.
Got it. No, Mudit, I think, love the example of the auto, the way you integrated and spoke about it. Like, obviously we as we speak, we all know that this is already the future and we're already there, right?
Right.
But love the fact that you spoke about the personalized, how personalized increases your relevance, and, the power of the creative automatically comes in, right?
Right.
Great insight, right? I just want to add in here, Arthur, I'm hoping you've joined in the call, right? You're right there?
Oh,
Arthur?
yes, of course, I'm here.
All right. So
Can you see me, hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I
Okay,
believe you
perfect.
had a little bit of a Zoom trouble. Is all okay now?
No, it's all okay. No worries. I managed to catch up since then, and actually the insights shared already are very interesting.
Super. But I would love to hear your insight as well. If you could help build on what Mudit said, because I know you also are a lot into personalization and, driving stronger customer impact. Would be great to just hear your perspective on this as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I cannot be more aligned with what Mudit was saying, and also Ryan showing with the VR, and Anish as well, like explaining about the strong connection between content and context. It's basically, I think engagement is definitely now a key metric, right? Because of what you mentioned, actually the context itself. We are living now in a digital space which is overcrowded. We are all fighting for attention and the time of the audiences, right? Of your customers. It's quite a heavy fight, I would say. And then basically, those people, that's the effect of it. People are actually expecting way more from brands now. They're not, they really want something like above advertising now. And basically what brands need to really realize and go through and explore further with all the potential, new capabilities that we have, as much as it was showing earlier with your example with Reebok or the VR experience. It's that brands need to bring something way more meaningful to their audience, and needs to bring value, right? So we're not anymore talking about advertising here. It's more like, as Mudit was saying, it's more like an experience, basically. It needs to be a journey. It needs to be something memorable. So brands needs to basically bring a storytelling here, inviting, the customers or the audiences, basically, to spend time with them for, specific reason, and to show to them that they're actually like considering them, valuing their time by offering to them some very qualitative content. So it's not anymore like expecting them to passively watch a video or just see a display, at a random time when they are on their phone. It's like really like inviting them for an experience and to be really active, like to become an actor of the advertising itself, inviting them, to jump in and to interact with the brand, to understand better about the brand itself, the service, the product, the message. It's way more, something like we really want to create more interactivity here. So any type of new innovative approaches are really welcome. Indeed, that's our job to keep a trend, to keep a track on the trends and try to suggest to advertisers basically what is existing right now, what is possible to do, and also like supporting that with data. I think it's the most important as well. But like jumping in an advertising that is offering this engagement metric, it's also like expecting, by offering the possibility to spend time with your advertising, with your advertisement, by interacting with the user. It's also like bringing the possibility to get a more qualified audience, more qualified basically conversion rate, because most of those people are spending time with you, going through the ad experience itself. So when they're willing to click at the end of it, it's like really they're already aware of what's happening here, what you're trying to sell to them, or what you're trying to pitch to them, right? So it's also like a very type of qualitative approach by having something like engaging. So we can explore different ways to do this type of rich media format. But I join one point that is really key as well, I think, is you cannot expect also your audience to get involved in an advertising at any time in a day. It needs to be like at strategical point cuts. So at the right time, when it's displayed on a phone, and it needs to be displayed on suitable as well channels. For instance, myself, I'm focusing mostly on mobile gaming. It's booming in our region. It's getting crazy, and also like it's offering a huge potential in that type of kind of interaction that you can have with your audience while they're highly focused and highly engaged playing on their phone. It's a very unique type of experience. When you compare like the experience from a mobile game and with any social media like Facebook, the way you interact with the phone is actually quite different, right? You're like having a very tactile experience with your phone on mobile. When on Facebook, it's just about scrolling. And so if you're like, targeting channels when you can get the high focus, and then already like sharing the mindset of your audience while they're playing game, basically they're already interacting with the screen in a very specific way with a tactile approach. So why not displaying an advertising at that moment when they are already, experiencing that type of a journey to bring them this additional experience powered by an advertising, right? We try to make it like more smooth in that way, not aggressive, not popping up. It needs to be like strategically appearing on the screen at strategical moment, basically, but also like sharing the mindset of the audience at that specific moment. They are willing to, go for entertainment. So let's entertain them with a brand message or a brand advertisement, but it needs to go above it, right? It needs to be more like an experience. So inviting them to play a quick ad or to interact with a video, or to really engage with them, to make them feel like, okay, they consider me, they consider what I'm actually trying to do, or how I enjoy my moment on my phone. So, the type of context is really key to also expect a strong performance, basically.
No, I think I completely agree with you, Arthur. I mean, the world is changing, right? When I speak to a lot of my brands as well, I mean, I wish I could just tell them, listen, you know what, we are no longer in the business of advertising. We're in the business of giving a great customer experience. And we tie into that, right? Because a lot of brands have already started adopting that mentality. And it's very, as difficult it is to say that, I want to give a great experience, getting that to execute is even more difficult, right? But having said that, right, I mean, let me take this a notch further, right? We've understood, when we speak to brands, right, and we come up with these mobile innovations and we want to give a great experience. Today, I understand, people are looking across a funnel, right? And this is where, I would like to invite Dipendra, like, essentially, today, when we are talking about these disruptive mobile solutions and, we are having these brand conversations today, how these solutions, it's not only about like, just making an impact on making the customer recall, but it's making an impact across the brand funnel or, the entire funnel. I would love to hear, Dipendra, what kind of conversations, what is the perspective? How are brands looking at this, like, disruption versus across the funnel?
Okay. Hi, Rishi. Thanks. See, like Rish, Mudit mentioned, and everyone was talking about, the creative innovations and everything. We have, the data is there, like we're doing targeting and all, and still we are getting a CTR of 0.15, and brands are happy with it, correct? We have all the necessary tools for segregating our data points, segregating your day parting, when you want to target your audience and everything. See, if we look about engagement is nothing it's just a simple methodology to bring your audience to become your consumers. And how you do it, correct? It's a simple mathematics, having a right data sets,
Sure.
showing them the right creatives, and bringing them to become your customers. But how these creatives helps you, like Mudit gave a wonderful example of BMW, correct? Like auto industry, I've been part of automobile industry from last 10 years. I have been worked with so many brands from automobile, And what I have seen throughout in all these 10 years is like, we started from normal display banners where, we try to get them on the lead submission form and everything. Just imagine if you having a creative now, with, where you can engage your customers or users who has you actually viewing your creatives, correct? So for example, you just shown a Reebok advertisement just before in the session. Just imagine if you have a 360 view experience of a car, the probability of you dropping a lead or probability of you taking a test drive increases, correct? So that's how all these like, these innovative creatives and the more engaged kind of creatives helps you to get your lower funnel objectives to be delivered. And similarly it goes with the banking also, correct? Banking sector, like, their main objective is to get the customers to get more registrations. Yes, at the end of the beginning they start like, like get more installs and everything, but eventually their goal is to get more customers and getting them registered on the online banking system. So how you do that? You just showing a normal banner won't help you out, correct? They may install your applications, but whether they will become your customers or not, whether they will register or not. So how you do it? So all these like, new disruptive innovative ideas which we do, and for the brands, and getting the customers engaged at every point and doing it in the right way brings them to become your customers. So and it's not like only like, it's most of the people think like, engagement is just like, consideration phase, like, okay. No, you start doing the more engaged kind of creative content on the very beginning of your funnel, correct? That will eventually reduce down the, the duration of that user becoming your customers. So if you
Sure.
use all these innovatives and ideas or solutions at the very beginning of your campaign or your branding activity, it will impact your lower funnel more quickly and more precisely. And that's what we have seen in down the line in last 1 and 2 years, where brands are focusing more on these kind of innovations, solutions which are coming up, and they are not only doing the typical orthodox kind of branding, which if I may say. So that is how, like, I look these solutions are impacting the brand funnel, overall funnels, not only the upper funnel or the middle, but the overall throughout the funnels.
No, so Dipendra, I love that perspective. That one statement which I'm definitely going to take away, like, and of course, this is one thing which I'm going to also use with a lot of my brands is, why are we not like, using these disruptions right at the top, right at the start of the journey?
Correct.
Makes
Correct.
your end funnel much more precise and faster. And that's what we want to do, right? We want agility, right? And essentially, I think you hit it bang on. Like, let's start with the innovations upfront in the top part of the top of the funnel, because this is how it's going to impact at the bottom of the funnel. I want to add.
Yes.
Dipendra, you want to add something more to that?
Yeah, like one more thing, like,
Sure.
see, it's okay. You have data and all these things are there, correct? Like all the marketers things about, oh no, I want to be very precise with my audiences. So we are precise with our audiences from the very beginning of your, like, our campaign, like, throughout our, like, this advertising industry, we always talk about the audiences. And, if we are tapping to the right audiences, why we are not getting the good results, correct? Yes, audience targeting a right audience is important, but tapping them in a right manner with an engaged environment that brings them to become our customers, correct? And that's why, like, it's not only like, we have to see at the down the funnel, it's very much needed at the beginning of the funnel.
All right. No, I think it's a fantastic perspective. So Dipendra, bang on. I really like this perspective, right? I would also want to invite Anish, because I know that, as part of Saatchi, there are a lot of solutions or a lot of questions which come to you across the brand funnel. And of course, all of us are faced with it. But I would love to hear your perspective in terms of, how do you see these disruptive mobile solutions making an impact across the brand funnel?
Sure. I want to give a rather unique perspective to this, right? So basically, funnels have always been around. So in the more classical marketing context, we used to say it's attention, interest, desire, action. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it came down to whole awareness, consideration, conversion, and advocacy. And then what the digital fraternity did was because, again, perhaps they were tech people and not marketing guys. They kind of implemented that in the digital consumer journey, right? But I have a question. I mean, I want to answer this with a question rather, right? So, given that you need to have so many variables going right, with the right context at the right place at the right time, with the right kind of message of disruption and all of that, and the right experience, what is the likelihood of or the probability of you meeting all those variables perfectly time and again through your funnel, right? So when it comes to digital marketing, I believe that we are in many ways we are flawed when we kind of track everything through the funnel, because everything should be linked to conversion at the end of the day. Sure. Even a click is in a way a conversion, right? Because it's an objective that you want to be met. What happens after the click on the banner is yet another object. Either you explore, or you go, put a product into a cart, or you pay, or whatever. So everything is kind of linked to your primary, like you said, in the start of the journey, right? So we've implemented this new sort of way of approaching digital advertising, which we call microfunneling, right? So for the same consumer, can the same content walk you through the entire consumer journey, from creating awareness of what you want to do, creating interest in it, getting you to buy into it, and making you creating such a valuable experience for you that you want to tell the world about it and get more people to buy. So literally a micro funnel within one piece of communication. Maybe that's a lot to expect, but it's possible, and we've got case studies that show that it's possible, and we've done that. And that's something that perhaps the industry can adopt and learn from, because our attention spans are so short that even if you retarget me a million times, you may have missed the bus, because I was maybe most interested when you made me aware of the product. And then don't wait to come back to me, because by now I've either maybe I was interested in the category because of your ad, but I've gone and bought your competitor because they were able to target me better and help me convert better. And so this whole micro funnel sort of way into creating higher conversions is we've seen a lot of success through that. And it's very simple in terms of how we discover this. So if you've gone to any of these platforms that create this crowdfunding platforms that create unique products, and all they get is one video to tell you why you should buy it, right? And they do this brilliantly, right? So they would tell you why this is an innovation, what's the uniqueness about it, how there are only few of these being produced in the world, and why you should be the first to have it. And then give you an incentive to have it, because now, as one of the first people sort of crowdfunding that particular product, you would get it at a discount compared to a much higher price once the product's actually made. So I'm just saying that analogy was very inspiring in many ways, and we literally brought that down and filtered it and implemented it from a digital advertising point of view, and it works brilliant.
Brilliant. No, so Anish, love that perspective of the micro funnel, and love the, of course, at the end of it, the experience. And one thing which I'm taking away, which I'm calling it out, right? I mean, do we really need to remarket 1,000 times, or are we missing the bus because the customer is becoming more and more demanding, right? I mean, absolutely buy into that point. But let me take this to the next level, right? I mean, so one of the ways, how as brand marketeers or as agencies, we are constantly engaging, or let's say talking to our customers, is via the video consumption. Of course, with the advent of the short video apps, with the advent of OTTs, we've just seen video consumption on mobile just to grow phenomenally, right? I mean, I just want to call it out, right? So in 2018, yeah. 12,000 petabytes per month has actually scaled up to, and these are monthly stats, right? I mean, yeah. Again, I'm talking about like 12,000 being scaled up to 60,000 petabytes per month. Of course, what it means, millions and billions of video consumption which is going on, right? And and the reason why I'm bringing this format, because this is one of the things which as agencies / marketers we want to do and we want to execute a lot, especially on the mobile. And I'm going to give like an example in terms of how we've seen multiple innovations coming on the video front. I'm just going to play this video for everybody's reference. Yep. So apologies to everyone. There was a lot of clutter, but at the end of the day, the innovations on the gaming side, in terms of how we are leveraging this to really drive in the video format, right? And this is about branding experiences here on the video format within the gaming format, right? I mean, this for this particular perspective, right? I would like to invite Arthur, because Arthur really does a lot of great work in this particular space. Arthur, over to you. Can I get your perspective on this particular question?
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, indeed, I'm focusing really on mobile game. And as you say, as you mentioned earlier, yeah, this context with the pandemic, it shows that basically mobile game is one of a solution, because brands need to diversify to find different approaches to engage meaningfully with their audience, right? As we were discussing earlier, and definitely mobile game is now starting to really echoes in marketers' mind, and because basically for them that was quite tricky to understand how big the potential was from this specific channel. But mobile game is getting more and more mass, as you cannot imagine, and the region is really huge for that, booming and getting even bigger. I don't know if you can imagine how many players actually around the world we can count right now. It's about 3 billion. So considering also that all the stereotypes can be broken, by imagining that a gamer could be, I don't know, let's say a teen, around 14, playing, on PC only, etc. It's start to be really like a old view of what can happen on the gaming space. It's way larger, way bigger these days, right? Considering those 3 billion active players, and basically mobile game is leading the video game industry in our region. Is really like massive. It's how basically most of Southeast Asian people are experiencing gaming. It's through their mobile. I'm sure a lot of you guys already experienced from your mobile. You're pretty much maybe yourself mobile gamers. It's just a matter of understanding how much you define yourself as a gamer. And I think this is the main thing that we were trying to explain and educate, brands about. Now they are pretty aware of it, and they are just like trying to figure out, okay, now that we understand that it's a huge audience that we can reach, because that's their audience only at that specific moment in a day when they are like, taking their phone and starting playing. Understanding that better now, they are like curious to know how much they can interact efficiently with them, and how they can adapt their message towards this very specific media, basically. So understanding, the potential of this channel better now, it's also a matter of understanding that it brings a specific context, right? Let's say mobile game as an average, people are playing. So it really depends on what type of game people are playing, right? Because on the stores right now, you have thousands and thousands of game, and then you can find hardcore type of experience, so something that you need a proper setup to play. Maybe online you can play 2 hours, or you can find like casual or hyper casual games. So it means that you can play 5 minutes when you're queuing at the cinema, right? So it's a very different type of experience. But average, we have like content pretty much like 5 times a day, 5 times sessions a day, around 30 minutes per session. So all those type of windows are very strategical for actually brands to appear on their audience screens. Basically, it's because also considering mobile game as a very specific type of channel, where it's more like a pure controlled ecosystem. Whatever is happening on the screen, like remain in the screen. It's remain in this gaming ecosystem. It's pure entertainment, pure fun. So you can expect the audience to be like relaxed, enjoying, happy, which is quite different with the, the behavior, the mindset that you may have when you are facing, social medias, or when your mood can be impacted or affected when, seeing a news or having a comment from someone. So it's a very unique type of media in that way. And then it's strategical for a brand to actually consider that appearing at the moment when it's only positive type of situation. And basically, a major point, it's, working with game developer and publisher, we understand that basically from their standpoint, they need to generate revenues, right? So they need to consider advertising as their main revenue source. And then from the development of a game, they are considering putting ad placement inside those games. And what they don't want, obviously, by opening games to advertising, is to ruin the experience. They don't want to kill the vibe from the user perspective of the journey itself by pushing with advertising. So they need to bring a very seamless experience, something that is really actually supporting the game journey. And they need to bring advertising at this entertaining level. And knowing this, it's actually offering to advertising a way bigger, it's really aligned with what can expect a user when playing actually their mobile game. So it's why it's matching pretty well with the user experience. Is basically when you're facing advertising, it's fully part of this mobile game ecosystem. And mostly users, they will choose and decide to initiate themselves advertising, which is quite unique when you consider the other platforms like YouTube, or you don't choose, right? You are just facing videos. But here on mobile game, it's very unique. The user is initiating himself videos or any type of other advertising at the specific moment, because he knows that the brand itself value his time and he will be rewarded by doing this. So it's really fully integrated in this journey inside a game, where basically it's all about getting fast. When you're playing games on mobile, you want to leverage, to level up. I mean, you want to acquire items, you want to do stuffs, and this is actually brought by advertising. So advertising here is purely part of the experience, and it's initiated by the user himself. So you have his focus, you have his he's willing to go for it. And then basically he's also going to complete it because he knows that at the end of it, he can be rewarded for that, right? So immediately the brand will create this positive connection with the user. And you can be sure that all the message from the video, for instance, will be fully viewed and understood by the user. And you can really optimize the chance to reach the end screen, and obviously to open the possibilities to drive traffic on your landing page from this. So it's a very unique experience, very unique approach, the way it's displayed and the way it's really embraced, the journey itself, the experience itself, and also the mindset of the users.
No, I think it's definitely it's an innovation. Like I put it across, and I think like this is something which we need to get more deeper into it. Like as you said, like we're seeing the gaming industry and specifically the video format. This is where I would also like to invite Mudit. Mudit, I know a lot of your brands will be doing a lot of video formats, but are they really adopting video formats on these gaming apps? I just want to get your perspective. How do you see the great customer experience happening across all these three touch points?
Sure, Rishi. Okay, so whenever we talk about gaming, right? So let me first give you the narrative of the overall gaming industry in Indonesia. Okay.
Sure.
So when we specifically talk about gaming in Indonesia, so this is the largest in Southeast Asia. So we can simply call it as like mobile gaming nation. Okay. Now, if we simply talk about the overall population that we have in Indonesia, it's around like 273 approx. Right? Internet penetration would be around 73%. So I'll take 200 or 202 internet penetration. After that, if you go down, then there is a smartphone, which is approximately around 184 million. Right? Now, if you see the mobile gamers, right, it is coming around like 140, which is approximately 60% of our smartphone users. So then this is something that you can imagine the power of gaming that we have in Indonesia, right? Now, when we talk about like elevate branding experience with gaming, specifically in the video format, so there are like a lot of opportunities that we can explore right? Specifically on the gaming for these specific brands, right? But the only thing that we need to be very mindful is that that's a me time. Like for each and every audience is like this is my me time. I don't want any kind of, I would say like a very non-intrusive environment should be there. And even that is something that Arthur has also mentioned, right? That should be very seamless experience. Now, when we talk about any specific brand, right, there are three possibilities which I can think of as of now that we can try. The first one, again, is going to be more of a pure vanilla stuff, wherein we can have, okay, like for this gaming inventory, I actually wanted to utilize, let's say, the pre-roll video, which is again within the gaming environment. The only thing that we can actually make it more engaging is somehow to relate it with the some sort of gratification. Let's say suppose if something is there, in that particular ad for the user, then that would actually help user to interact with that particular ad, right? So we need to be like we need to make it very engaging so that we can actually relate it with, I guess Arthur has also mentioned about rewarded video, right? So that could be like one of the aspects that we can actually see. The second, I would feel like in 2021, live streaming was like, I would say like 2021 was the year for live streaming on. Like majority of the players have done live streaming, right? And there are like a lot of competitions that has also happened, gaming competition that has also happened like live stream, right? So that could be another possibility, right? Wherein we can also link it back with some sort of, the branding, the overall sponsorships, right? So that is also another way of looking into it. The last way, which I personally think it's going to be a very non-intrusive environment, which would be your in-gaming, right? So I'll give you an example. Let's say suppose if I'm playing, let's say any car-related game, right? Wherein we are talking about the overall speed. But again, in the gaming, we have like multiple things wherein we can also showcase our brand, right? So let's say suppose if I say like, okay, I want to launch 4G or 5G, let's say for telco part, right? Somehow if we can also correlate that car speed with my 4G or 5G partner, right? So that makes a lot of, the contextuality that we can also bring in while utilizing the gaming platform, right? And same goes for the other video formats as well, right? So I guess it is more of a, how you utilize the gaming environment. I would also like to say like one more example, which I found it very interesting, though it is not related to like in-app gaming as such. But again, we
Sure.
also to make sure, like as we are moving towards the keyless world, right? Now in that environment, this in gaming, right? This in-app environment would make a lot of sense, right? Because again, whatever is related to app is nothing to do with the overall cookieless, right? The example that I actually wanted to give is there is one brand that has tied up with the not tied up, I would say like they have done a campaign by taking Australian Open into the consideration, right? So whenever there is a point, which is let's say 15 love, right? And it's a food brand, food delivery app. So when there is a let's say 15 love, 30 love. So whenever that love is coming, right? They are giving the promotion or the offer to the user on their Instagram page, which they can redeem it till that time it's still 15 love or 30 love, right? So that's how like brands are also playing in terms of enticing the users by putting a lot of stuff in terms of gratification, in terms of engaging. So that's a very beautiful example, right? That is something that we can also utilize in our gaming environment. So I guess, yeah, gaming is something which is, again, I would say like in Indonesia, it's food, music, and then gaming. Gaming plays a very important role, definitely.
Perfect. I think I love your perspective on the gaming, but now let me take this gaming and the video format to the next level, right? I mean, what do I mean by that, right? We all know, like, essentially we are coming into this world of experience, and how can this great customer experience be given up? And we are already walking, like, as Ryan spoken about, we're already talking about the world of avatars, right? I want to show all you guys, some work which we have done in the the virtual reality space. Just going to play this video for you guys. So yep, yeah, we are transitioning into an idea of virtual reality, augmented reality. As we speak about meta, we already spoke about avatars, right? Ryan, I mean, given that you brought up the concept of avatars, I would love to hear your perspective in terms of how this particular phenomena is going to be taken to the next level. Can just some inputs here, please?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I'm sorry, I was just taking notes there. The gaming space for ads is so exciting, and I don't know enough. So it was great to hear what Arthur and the others were saying. But to go back to build on what Dipendra said about creating magical experiences right away at the top of the funnel, and what Anish said about meeting the customer, where they are right now, and focusing on winning the immediate battle, if you will. If you think about how the pandemic has affected us as digital marketing people, it's actually, it's been a big boost, to be honest. I mean, last year was our biggest year. This year is probably going to double that. But when you think about what marketing has traditionally supposed to support, it's sales. And sometimes sales aren't clicks, sometimes it's boots on the ground that need to get in front of people. They have to meet, they have to greet, they have to entertain, and get that customer into a showroom, for example. So how can we support the boots on the ground sales teams with digital experiences that excite and delight, and turn those experiences into measurable revenue, like now? So I've got an example, but first, if you think about the metaverse, I know everybody's talking about the metaverse as a concept. It gets a lot of airtime, right? But it's been a great slingshot for getting people talking and thinking about both VR and AR, and they're talking about it in the mainstream, which is great. The fact is, if you've been in the the XR space, that is AR and VR and other extended realities, then the metaverse sounds a lot more like a concept than an actual solution or a platform or even an application. And frankly, I don't like it. It sounds like a land grab to me. You've got Facebook venues and Facebook Horizons and Rec Room, and they're really trying to monopolize VR like they did social media. So I'm not excited about the metaverse per se, but what I am excited about more than ever is using XR to excite customers and not just engage them, but fully immerse them in a story or experience. So we have a client, very high-end LED lighting manufacturer from Australia called mLight, and I'm a big believer in examples. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to share their website here. We've already done a lot of 3D work for them. They're actually launching this website later this week, so it's not promoted yet, but it's really sexy product, really high end, and they sell into very specific industries: healthcare, education, commercial office space. If you've ever been in a WeWork office, it's probable that there are lights were on the ceiling. And their sales teams had a big problem when the pandemic started. They could not get to trade shows. They could not get to client offices for meet and greets. And when they could meet, it wasn't ideal. It was, in a Starbucks over a coffee. And you can imagine having a sample of one of these things in hand with a coffee in the other. It's not ideal to demonstrating all of the intelligent features about this as well. There's an app that controls the grouping and dimming and stuff. So we were already working with them, and we kind of discussed with them the sales challenges and what we could do. So we came up with the concept of a virtual reality showroom that we're pretty excited about, and it's launching next month. So I hope we can show a little sneak peek after, but the intention here is to get some earned media, of course, right? The first lighting company that's doing VR. So that's always good. PR is always good. But more practically, this is an opportunity for, instead of spending that money on the trade show booth, which we know it's not cheap, meeting and greeting, entertaining, hotels, flights, think about the cost of goods sold for a product that, could be 100,000, 200,000 for a complete project price tag. Now imagine, you can take your virtual reality showroom, preload it onto an Oculus Quest 2, get your logo on there, fire it off to your premium customers, and say, here, it's a free gift. It's a giveaway. Your kids are going to love it. All I ask is that you put it on, and at 4 o'clock, you join me. I'll be remote, but we're all going to join the virtual showroom. And that's an opportunity for the sales team to use the digital tool to really blow people away. And Rishi, I hope you can play that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm going to just
video.
that. Right, so just playing that for everyone. Can everybody see my screen? I'm just going to play it.
Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So you can imagine, instead of Starbucks with a lighting component in your hand, you're meeting the guy who's building the hospital, or the architect, or the lighting designer in a virtual hospital, and you're showing them how the product works in situ. That's a heck of a big support for the sales team. And I think a good example of immersion, versus an ad in the classic sense.
Perfect. No, Ryan, I mean, this is what the world we are in for, right? I've got a 2-year-old kid. I always wonder what kind of ads he's going to see. So yeah, I mean, we're going to see some crazy. I hope we are not going to see the Matrix and Terminator very, very soon. That's the world which you're headed towards. But nonetheless, Dipendra, I want to get your point of view on this, right? I mean, you work in a very serious industry like the banks and the finance. Do you see this happening there as well sooner or later? I mean, just as a point of view.
See, with banking and this industry, it seems it's gonna take some time. Like when it comes, like when we look for the VR and the thing. But just to give an example, Ryan has mentioned, facing challenges. Sales teams were facing challenges when the COVID happened. And it goes with the other industries also. And one of the biggest industry which got hit by COVID was automobile industry. Sales were going down, and both the manufacturers or the publisher side, people who are into the automobile websites, or the kind of, they were facing a huge challenge to to sell their inventory or to sell their cars and everything like that. So look GIAS, look IMS, correct? They all had their virtual websites up, correct? Like you can go and feel the booth virtually, where be it of any brand, like each and every automobile brand was having their virtual booth for their customers, because nobody can go and physically and attend the show, correct? No. So just imagine, and we are seeing it as a solution for the COVID. But if we look into a longer run, just imagine, a motor show is happening in Geneva, and they want to reach across the globe. You have the virtual show up, and you can reach all the customers across the globe, all the auto enthusiasts who can't go to Geneva and attend that show physically. So it's it's the next step, like, where the industry is moving and where all the brands are also looking to, explore the possibilities. Yes, definitely. And for banking also, it has the possibility, but if you ask me personally, I don't see it's happening sooner, because
Sure.
banking is something like, it's very confidential kind of a thing. So I don't see that, that's my personal view, like, correct, like, Anish or Ryan or Arthur may have a different view
Yeah,
about it. But like, if you ask me, banking is something like, which is very personal, and we don't see it's going to be virtual very soon now.
Sure.
sure.
No, this is
And maybe,
perfect.
yeah, maybe I want to
Yeah,
add
Anish, go
something
on.
to
Anish, go
that.
on.
Yeah, so we do work with a bank, which is Permata Bank, and banking has become more and more contactless now, right? You can even literally start a verified bank account without ever visiting a branch, because the whole mobile experience is so versatile and sort of foolproof, idiot-proof, that it allows you to even get your data verification done, your KYC done through documents that you upload within the banking app itself, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, there's a particular feature which is called WhatsApp gift, where you can send money to people through WhatsApp, literally. And that's a feature that Permata Banks adopted. And we created a very, sort of a versatile mobile campaign experience to be able to bring that out to people, because the experience is on mobile, right? That is, medium is the message, that, as they say. So that is the platform in itself. And yeah, of course, it was a full. I mean, it's actually on air now, which is for, it's a Ramadan campaign. So we're asking people that, when you show your blessings in an envelope, you literally do that on WhatsApp now. And so yeah, I mean, because the medium is within WhatsApp, and then of course there's an entire integrated campaign to support that in terms of film, in terms of your digital ad assets and whatnot. But it is happening in banking as of now. Yeah.
It is actually, just to add, our before the pandemic, we were working on a private banking app, because people want the experience of face to face. Maybe they want their mother to be there too, and physical, but pandemic, or they're just far away. You want that personal service right away. You got it with VR. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, like, I would like to point out the fact that today in India, like, essentially in a market like, Indonesia, different evolved markets. But here, over the last 2 years, people have opened bank accounts, done millions of transactions, opened up fixed deposits, and never gone to the bank till date. I mean, that's the experience which I think consumers are going for. But love everybody's perspective here. Just some closing remarks, right? I mean, so just want to summarize and want to like call out the key points, right? So we spoke about how obsessed are we with the mobile phone. So Anisha, love the setup, man. I mean, right from getting up in the morning to essentially setting up your afternoon, setting up your ordering. I mean, we are looking at the mobile phone for unlimited amount of time, right? Then we essentially move on where we spoke about today how critical it is to, let's say, not only an engagement, like Ryan pointed out, like an immersive experience, right? I mean, extremely critical. I would want to use the word immersive moving forward, but yes, I mean, that's the idea, right? And then, of course, love the point of view of Mudit, how essentially he broke it down into a formula, innovation plus engagement plus strong customer impact is, at the end of it, it's an experience. How we are able to drive that experience. Arthur, love your insights on the mobile gaming front. Like, of course, all of us are convinced that at the end of the day, how big a gaming a market is, how we can leverage it. Dipendra, just to summarize, right, I loved your perspective on the brand, but I think the key thing which I really want to take away from your point is, how these innovations can be leveraged right at the top of the funnel to ensure that your bottom level conversions can become more precise and more faster, right? And just to address it all, right, I mean, this is just to sum it up, like, this is what we are doing at mCanvas day in, day out. The power of a strong creative, that's what we really want to drive around, because we've understood the creative is your synonym for your engaging content. And of course, do it at the right place at the right time on the mobile phone, essentially to begin outcome, right? So, yep. So thank you, everyone, gentlemen. I mean, it was great having your perspective. Honestly, I didn't realize the time flew away. I'm not sure if everybody felt the same, but extremely grateful for your time here. Again, I'm just going to pause here for a second. Manmeet, do you want to open it up for some questions? I know we are right at the bottom line, but
so I see a lot of questions, and I see that all the panelists have answered all the questions during the entire session, which is pretty great. I mean, I think it's quite an engaging audience. So I would like to thank everyone for joining in today. Thank you so much, and thank you to all the attendees also for putting up such interesting discussion pointers. Also, I'd like to thank the mCanvas team for having their faith in us. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from us. Thank you, and please stay safe.
Thank you. Lovely talking to you all. Bye.
Thank you everyone.
thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
guys.
very much for everyone.
Thank
Thank you for organizing it.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.